A challenge has been issued and I'm going to take it on. Recently, I bought some products from Bath & Body Works, and on the bag it says share the love, recycle, or repurpose this bag, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take you through the whole process of turning this bag into a junk journal. Hey there, it's Bobi, aka Paginator, and thank you for watching. Hey guys, it's Editing Bobi. I'm just popping in here to add a note. This is some exciting news. The journal that I make out of this Bath & Body Works bag is going to be a giveaway journal. One of you guys can win it. So stay tuned. At the end of the video, I will give you all the details of what you need to do in order to be entered to win this journal. Alright, so prior to filming this video, the only thing that I have done to this bag is just undo the bottom. Just simply unfolded where it was glued together at the bottom of the bag. I'm going to be doing the rest of everything on camera. I have some digital papers that I have printed out. I have some coffee dyed papers. I have some fabric. I've got other ephemera, all kinds of things to play with. And we're going to turn this into a journal. So one of the first things I want to do is actually remove one of these handles and transport it to the other side of the journal. Because when this gets folded in, this is going to be the front of the journal, this is going to be in the back, and we have both of the handles at the back. So I'd like to have one on each side. So I'm going to open this up and see if I can gently remove this. And it looks like it shouldn't be too tricky. So I'm going to need to attach this inside here. Just want to make sure that it's going to line up correctly with the other handle. I'm going to slide it a little bit higher up there, and I'm going to hold it in place with one hand while I glue it down with the other, if I can pull that off. Okay, one thing that we don't need are these extra side pieces here. So I can do one of two things. I can either cut them off, or I can just simply fold them in and make sure that they are secured before we attach the fabric of the cover. So on one hand, it would be good to take these out because there's extra layers of bulk that you're removing from your cover. On the other hand, it is added sturdiness. You know what? I think we're going to leave them there. I do want to kind of glue them down though, so they're not constantly opening and closing. So again, I'm just going to use my art glitter glue. The fabric I'm going to be using for the cover is this beautiful fabric. It is by the designer Seth Apter from his storyboard collection. I learned about this designer from, of course, Barbara's channel, and I found some of his fabrics online, and I wish I could tell you where exactly online I got them, but I don't remember. I'm so sorry. So we need to cut pieces that are going to be a little bit bigger than the cover that we have here. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to snip with my scissors and then rip the fabric so that it is, maybe half an inch or so wider on both the top and bottom and each side of the paper bag. I've laid down my bottom piece of fabric, or the what's going to be the front cover, wrong side down, and I'm going to take some Mod Podge and go all over the outside. That's going to be the outside cover, I should say, not just the front cover, because the front and back work together. I have some Mod Podge, and I'm just going to paint it on. I'm going to try to cover every spot, but if I don't get exactly every single little piece, it is not the end of the world, because I'm also going to do some sewing to attach these layers together. And you can see that the fabric edge is going to be hanging out over where the handles are, and I am totally okay with that. If you would prefer that not to happen and you're doing a similar project, then you'll want to trim your fabric down just a little bit smaller. Once I feel like I've got good coverage with the Mod Podge, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over, try to center it really well, and press it down. Now, because fabric is porous, and this is a woven fabric, which, you know, the Mod Podge can get through little tiny holes between the threads, there is a possibility that I will get some Mod Podge on my cutting mat. So I'll just need to make sure that I clean that off really well after I'm done with this. So now I'm going to repeat the process with this side of the bag. Okay, I'm going to pop my lid back on the Mod Podge just so that it doesn't dry out, and I will go wash my brush here in a second, but first I want to lay down my inside cover piece. Again, I'm just going to try to center that, line it up with the other fabric piece, and smooth it down. This one I can feel the Mod Podge coming through, probably because I was thicker on this side than I was on the other. Okay, so we have our preliminary cover. Of course, we'll add some decorations and things, but we also need to do some sewing. Before I can do that, I need to make sure that the Mod Podge is really dry, so I'm going to give it some time to dry off, go wash my paintbrush, and might even hit it with my heat tool just to like make sure it really dries. But after that, we're going to get out the sewing machine. Alright, so you guys know that I can't get a very good angle on my sewing machine, and this is probably not going to be helpful at all to watch. But I'm just going to show you kind of the path that I'm taking. I'm going to go around once with a straight stitch, and then around again with a zigzag stitch, and we'll go from there. Alright, we are now sewn. I am going to trim off some of these longer threads that have started to fray just a little bit before we did the other sewing. I want it to be like frizzy and frayed, but not like crazy that way. You know what I mean? Like little bits of fluff and fringe are good, not super long strings. Now I did sew from the inside cover out, so the stitching always looks different on one side versus the other. Just that's how sewing works. If you prefer your stitches to look the other way around, then you'll want to stitch from your outside cover down. To me, it doesn't really matter either way. Now you could also add some more stitching after you do your borders. You could do some fast slow stitching, kind of wonky crazy all over the place, or even do some lines to make it look kind of quilted. That's totally up to you. I am going to not do any more sewing for now, so I want to think about the papers that are going to go into this journal. Now I'm looking at this, and we could have, it's kind of already folding itself into space for a spine of about 1.25 inches wide. And then the cover itself looks like it's going to be about 6 inches by 8.5, which is a good size. I have some coffee dyed papers here that I've trimmed down to what I felt like was going to be a good size for this journal. And then I also have some of these digitals that are French dictionary pages. I had some other digitals in mind, and then I thought, well, I've used those particular ones in a recent journal anyway, so we're going to go with these as our base pages and then add a lot of decorating, because as you can see, these are very plain. They're all very similar color patterns, etc. Now, you might be thinking, well, why don't you pick out some digitals or something to print with a bit more color? Well, I would, but what happened was my printer that's only 8 months old, has completely died. It will not pick up matte photo paper anymore, and only once in a while will it pick up plain copy paper. I actually have to send it back to Epson, and they have to send me a replacement unit, and it's going to be a big pain in the butt. So for now, I'm not printing anything because I can't. So we'll use what we've got. We'll use these, and we'll use ephemera and all kinds of other fun things to help make this more colorful, more interesting, so it's not just vanilla blah. We have 5 of these French dictionary pages, and I think I'll do the same amount of coffee dyed paper. Did I cut 5? Yes, I did. So we'll fold these. So it looks like I actually grabbed 6 pieces of coffee dyed paper, so we've got 11 pieces. We'll just consider this a bonus one. And I think that's all for actual pages. Now, do I want this to be 1 signature or 2? Is the question. Let's see. If I just go every other one like this, I don't know, that feels like enough for a signature. Let's do 2 signatures. Let's start this one with coffee dyed paper. Okay, yeah, I like the 2 better. I generally like to do more than 1 signature anyway. How's that gonna feel? Okay, when you're making a junk journal, it's important to not get so bulky that you have a gator mouth before whoever's gonna have this journal or use it, or you, if you're gonna be the person to use it, if it's before you start to actually work in it, it needs to not be too bulky. This is a good amount of paper, I feel like, because I can still add some pockets, tags, etc., and it still will be a good size. Why is this so funky looking? Oh well, I already said before, I'm not striving for perfection. I just want to have some fun transforming this bag, so we're not going to worry about that too much. Okay, unless this corner looks better. It does. This will be the front side. Now, sometimes I decorate my pages before I sew them in, and sometimes I sew them in and then decorate them. It really just kind of depends on what I'm feeling at the moment, and I kind of just want to sew them in first and decorate later. Okay, there's one thing that I really have to do before anything can be sewn in, so I should do that first. I have this pouch. It came to me in a Once Upon a Book Club box. It says page 231 on here, and then this side's just plain. It's a burlap pouch, drawstring, and I want to attach it upside down as a flap that's also functionable as a pocket, and it's gonna go probably, do I want it in between the signatures, or do I want it at the end? I don't want it at the beginning. I kind of want it in between, like a little like bam moment before. Now there's a couple of ways that I could attach this to this piece of paper. I could use some Fabri-Tac and glue it on. I could sew it on. I could hot glue it on. I kind of want to do sewing just so I can do some more stitching with the black thread and have little threads hanging off like we do with the cover, and just add some more fun sewn details. So we'll get the sewing machine again and do a quick zigzag just across here, making sure that the mouth of the bag is at the bottom. So we'll put that back on our signature. And we'll be able to put a journaling card or something inside. We can also decorate the front of the pocket with something. I'm not entirely sure what yet. We will find that out as we go through this process. Okay, so how does that doesn't add a ton of bulk, but still a fairly good amount. We're still good that way. I think it's time to make a template and sew in our signatures. I have to say this is my least favorite part of journal making. It is not something that I supremely enjoy, but it must be done. Where's my dot grid paper? And where's my camera cord? Do what you want to do. To make my guide for sewing in the signatures, I'm going to use dot grid paper. This or graph paper is a lot easier to use because you have straight lines already built in. So if I do a little comparison, the width of this is just about to the stitches. So it might actually be good to just cut a width of this and use this top to bottom. I'm going to label my top and bottom. Just in case my measurements aren't exact, then I know which one is the top and which is the bottom. For example, if I had like the middle hole, which was slightly below center, if I used it this way on one signature and then accidentally turned the paper over on the other one, then I'd have a hole that was slightly above center. So I want to make sure that my top and bottom are labeled. And I want to mark, I probably just should have used the end of the paper, but this is where we are. So we go from this dot here to this dot here for the width of the template. Usually I use a pencil when I'm making these, but so that you can see it a little bit easier, I'm going to use a black marker on this craft paper. This is Archer and Olive dot grid paper. I have one of their notebooks that you can get the white, the craft paper, and the black all together. And I don't always use it for these junk journal templates, but my cheaper dot grid paper has disappeared. So, or I used all of it. So we're going to use a piece of this Archer and Olive. Okay. What I need to decide is how high and how low the top and bottom holes need to be. I'm going to be doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which was what I mostly do in my journals. And I also need to decide where the middle is going to be. So I'm going to grab one of my signatures and just compare it to the height of the template. So the copy dyed paper does extend a little bit higher and lower, but the digitals are just a tiny bit smaller than the height of the template. Now, I'm going to count some squares here to find the middle row. That's kind of a pain in the butt that's in the middle, but that's the center. That doesn't mean that my signatures have to go there because we're doing 2 signatures. So if we do a space and a half from the exact center, then I want to use this row and this row here to guide where my signatures will sit. Does that make sense? The center of this template is here, but I've evenly spaced where the 2 signatures are going to go. And now I've got to figure out where the middle is going up and down, which is going to take some more counting. Please excuse me for a moment. Okay, the middle is going to be right here. So I'm placing X's where I want to punch holes. I also need to decide where my top and bottom holes are going to be. And again, knowing that my paper doesn't quite reach here, I don't want to put holes at the very bottom of this or at the very top of this because we need the holes to be somewhat inside to make sure that the papers are secure. So I'm going to count up 3 spaces here and here. Now some people will punch the holes in their cover and their signatures at the same time. I do mine separately. That's just how it works better for me in my head. You do what works best for you. I've got my Crocodile Big Bite. I'm going to set it to the larger hole. I find that I prefer working with the larger hole for sewing in signatures, and I'm just going to center it over those X's and punch right through. Now, especially when you have a fabric cover after you punch holes, you're going to want to come in with scissors. And I'm looking for my tinier scissors. I'm just going to want to make sure that that hole is clear, so if there's any tiny pieces that are in the way, so that a needle can't pass through. Now I'm still going to use this to punch holes in my signatures, but I do want to mention something. If you make these templates, save them in a folder or something somewhere in your desk, because if you happen to make a journal the same size again, then you don't have to remake your templates all the time. It's time for a caffeine break. Oops. It's Sunday as I'm filming this, and yesterday I gave myself sun poisoning and I have a massive headache. My whole body hurts. And I've also felt like super sleepy, and I don't know if it's my brain tricking me into thinking I'm sleepy because my right eye is really swollen. Did you know your eyes can get sunburned? Apparently that's a thing. But yeah, it's been all kinds of fun dealing with sunburn all over my face and my eyes and everything. It's great. Well, and it's just one of those dumb things. It's springtime in Wyoming. I was going to go watch my kids play soccer, which I did. I went and watched the two varsity high school teams play, and I had a really fun time, and I'm so glad that I went. But I forgot sunscreen because it's April in Wyoming, and who thinks that you need sunscreen in that time and place? I know. Sunscreen is always a good thing. Don't yell at me. Which of these colors should I sew the signatures in with? None of them are a super exact match, so I guess I should just decide what I want. I think this is going to pop too much. I don't want to use that brown because I'm saving it for something else and I don't have very much left of it. So brown or green? I wish this was like a live so you could comment and tell me. I think I'm going to go with brown just because, I don't know, something about it is just saying it needs to be brown. In my little sewing box, I always keep my awl and my needles. We have our signatures, we have our cover, and we have our template. Now, one thing that I do know for sure is that every junk journaler is different. Everybody makes their journals a different way and has a different style. So if you see me doing something that you're like, that's not how I would do it, that's totally fine. That is totally 100% fine with me. You do what works best for you. I like to hold my template over the center page of my signature and do a dot in the center where the holes are. And then I use my awl to punch the holes for the thread to go through. Because while I have larger holes in the cover, I like the holes in the pages to be a little bit smaller. I have these clippies that I got at the $1.25 tree a while ago. So I'm just going to clip the pages together. And I like to punch the holes when the pages are kind of closed like this. If you punch the holes while the pages are laying flat, they're just going to not quite work as well in my experience. So using those dots that I made as a guide, I'm going to push my awl all the way through. So it's still a fairly decent sized hole. It's just not as big as the holes that we punched in the cover. And again, some of you might be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But again, this is what works for me. This is what I like to do. I'm now going to measure 3 lengths of the pages with my thread. This is just cross-stitching embroidery floss. Some people like to use the waxed thread. Other people like to use different things, but I like this. I was raised by a mother who worked for a cross-stitch design company. I actually worked for them a little while as well myself. So this is the stuff that I am used to working with. I would love to be able to cross stitch more and add some cross stitch pieces into my journals, but my hands are so bad that I'm putting them kind of at risk just by doing the journal making part, so we'll not do that. And by that I mean, like, I have cubital tunnel and carpal tunnel, which is so much fun when your hands get all numb and in pain. Goes under here, and we tie a double knot again. Oh, come on, cooperate. My hands are getting sore already, you guys. Carpal tunnel and cubital tunnel. Nope, that didn't work. That wasn't actually a knot. Yes, I actually do know what I'm doing. It just never goes right when I'm filming. So I did end up with a couple of lengths of extra thread. I can keep those to use for something else or just discard them. And we're going to put the needle and all back in my sewing box because I don't need anybody poking themselves. And you know how clumsy I am. I definitely can injure myself just standing still. So, alright, I hope my camera caught all of that. Sometimes it acts a little bit funny. But we now have our 2 signatures sewn in. We have this cute drawstring pouch here. And we've got them sewn on the spine. Do I love the look of this? No. So I'm probably going to get either another piece of fabric or some lace or something to cover this. I'm not sure exactly how else I'm going to decorate the cover, but I think I'm going to pause this video, or at least the progress on this project for today. When I come back to you, I will have gathered up some ephemera to decorate with, something to decorate the spine, of course, and we'll continue working on turning this journal into something fabulous. So, it won't be long for you through the magic of editing, but I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, up next I am going to be picking out some colors of Distress Oxide. I've found these papers that I'm going to be using for accents and decoration. This lady here is going to be the on the front cover, I believe. And I want to pick a green color that will match with the cover and maybe hopefully go with some of the visuals here. So I've got my swatches of all my green Distress Oxides. So we have Bundled Sage, which is very light, but might actually work really nicely. Shabby Shutters, I think has too much yellow in it. Twisted Citron, I love this color, but it's very, very lime green, and that's not going to work. Mowed Lawn, the dark richness of the green I really like, but again, I'm not sure if it's right for this project. This is another good contender, Rustic Wilderness. I really like that. That seems to like fit both with the green on the cover and the green here in the prints. Peel Paint, no. And Forest Moss. Forest Moss I think would be a nice color to use for some dark contrasting if I need to. So I might grab that pad just in case. But I think my main color is going to be Rustic Wilderness. If you use Distress Oxides or inks of any kind, I highly recommend making swatches of some kind. I made mine following a tutorial by Louisa Heinzel, but seriously, game changer. If you have swatches with your ink on the paper that you use most often, whether that's cardstock, photo paper, whatever, it really, really, really helps. Alright, so we're going with Rustic Wilderness. Maybe we'll just grab both of these other colors that I liked, Bundled Sage and Forest Moss, just so that we have them out, and go from there. Alright, you can see that I actually grabbed 4 colors, and my keyboard's moved out of the way. Yay! It's up there. I had to do a little bit of editing for my niece. She's applying to compete for FFA president at her high school, and she had asked me to edit a document, so that's why the keyboard was still kind of sitting out there, but that's all done and taken care of. And as usual in teenager fashion, I have texted her to let her know I'm done, and she has not replied. That's what teenagers do. Okay. Now, I mentioned I had picked out 4 colors. When I got into the office, I saw Crushed Olive sitting there, and I went, wait a minute. I don't have a swatch card for Crushed Olive, which is ridiculous because I know I made one. So I don't know what's happened to it. Maybe it grew legs and walked away. Oh, that's probably my niece texting me back. Sure enough, that was her. Anyway, so I grabbed Crushed Olive anyway because this color, even though it's very, very yellowish green, I thought that some of the papers in here kind of had some yellowish tints to them. I'm not finding a good example right now. This one has quite a bit of yellowish tints in the background. So I might end up not using it at all, but I thought, hey, might as well grab it. So I've got these 4 colors out and they're ready to go. So I showed you this young lady, and I want her to be the cover of this journal. The fabric on the cover isn't like screaming 1920s or Art Deco or anything, but when I found this paper set, there was enough green in it, and I just really, really liked it that I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. There's also this lovely orange color here, which is also on the cover. So the first thing I want to do is cut this in half, and then we need to decide how we're going to make this a little bit more sturdy, because right now it's just a single piece of paper, so we might add some borders and different things to that, and see what we can do to make it look cute. I don't feel like I need a massive border, if any, behind here, because the white space here does give enough distinction between the image and the fabric that I think that's okay. But it would be nice, to, like I said, to have something to sturdy up the paper and just create a little bit of a border. Plus, it would be fun to like do some sewing around this paper once I've added it to another piece of paper. This is a big pad of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. It is Vintage Memories, and this is the company DCWV. I'm not 100% sure what that stands for. Can we find out? No, but there's their website right there. DCWV.com. And it's a whole bunch of two-sided prints of like cardstock. Some of them have gold foil on them, and there was one that I quite liked the look of, and I actually pulled it out, let's see, as a possible border for the front cover here. So what do we think of just a little bit of this, kind of a orangey brown on top of here? I like it, I do. Let's go ahead and glue her down. I kind of debated, do I ink her up or do I not? And I don't know. I kind of want to do it with Forest Moss, just because it is the darkest of the colors that I've chosen, and that's the mood that I'm in right now. Forest Moss is a gorgeous color. If you're thinking about starting to get some Distress Oxides and you're not sure what colors to start with, Forest Moss will definitely be on my list of colors to get sooner rather than later. It is kind of a darker mossy green, hence Forest Moss, and it's got quite a bit of brown in it, which is nice. also, another color that I think would be top of my list would be Vintage Photo or Ground Espresso, because you need a good brown. Vintage Photo is a little bit more red toned, a little bit lighter, and then Ground Espresso is more of a darker brown. But either of those I think would be good starter colors in the brown family. The newest color, Scorched Timber, is also really, really gorgeous, but it's going to be very, very dark. So it depends on how dark you want your browns to be. That sounds odd to say. Alright, she is glued down and sewn around. I went all the way around once with a straight stitch and then went around again and alternated between a zigzag, which you can see in some areas here, and then a straight stitch in the areas where you don't see the zigzag. So I think I'm going to use Fabri-Tac to glue her down, and we'll see how that holds. If it shouldn't have any issues, but if for some reason it does, then we will try something else, but it should hold just fine. Alright, there it is. She's glued down. This is so squishy. I just love to squish it. Can you hear it? Inside the front cover, I need to add my coffee-dyed library card pocket. But before I add it, I want to stamp and write on it. And I'm going to put number 61, because that's what number this journal is. The stamp that I'm going to be using is the one that says Page 1 Creations, and we're going to stamp it in Forest Moss. Usually I stamp it in black, but I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try using a color. I like it. Now I buy these from an Etsy shop, Inky Fingers Society, and they do come sticky all over the back, but I am going to add some more glue just to be on the safe side. I'd hate for it to come undone and leave the person who gets this journal high and dry without a functioning pocket. Just going to go around the edges with my Fabri-Tac. Okay. In these front pockets, most of the time I'll add a little note or something. If I've sold the journal, it'll be like a thank you for this purchase kind of note, or if it's for a swap or something like that, it'll be a note to the person that it's going to. I can also add a bookmark or a journaling card or a tag, or, you know, whatever, in the meantime. And then at the end, I'll want to have something, and a lot of times I like to put a pocket at the end of the journal. I'm going to hold off on making my decision on that for a little bit until I've worked on some of the pages, because that might give me a great idea for something that could go in the journal. So I still have the document open for my niece, and I saw like one little thing that I forgot to fix, so I heard and changed it for her. Is that cheating? Maybe. Alright, I'm going to turn off my computer so I'm not distracted by that anymore. So we've got the rest of these papers. I'm probably not going to use all of them, but I can definitely use some to create some things to add into the journal. I do want to keep in mind that I have this beautiful pocket that I would like to put something in, but I want something quite sturdy. I have these old flashcards. I'm almost out of these, which makes me really sad, but they're nice and thick. We could cut one in half maybe, and that might work really nicely as a substrate for a journaling card. Oh yes, that'll fit really nicely. This would be a really lovely journaling card. The width of this extends out just a tiny bit past the print. I don't actually mind that, but other people might. So what I'll do is probably glue this down and then trim off those extra bits, and then trim off the top and bottom that go here. And then this will be backed with something with more empty space. I mean, this really, I guess I could just cover with a sticker or something. Okay, I have my scrap bowl here, and I thought I would maybe add a little accent of something to the front of the card. I have this really lovely green book spine. Could use a piece of that. Some of this meshy bit of book spine maybe. So if you're a crafter or junk journaler, I highly recommend, if you pull apart old books, save this stuff from the spine. It works as really, really fun stuff to collage with. This is a piece of a spine from a different book. And I might not use all of these things, but I'm just kind of grabbing a few little bits. So there's the front of our card. I need to decide what I'm going to do with the back. I really, really love the color of this flash card. So I kind of feel like I just want to add a little something right here. Okay, so that's just a piece of the fabric that's the same as the cover, and just a number scrap that I had in my bowl. And that's it. So I think we'll go around the edges with the same color that I inked around the front side, which is Rustic Wilderness. And this is ready to go into our fun little pouch. So I can pull it a little bit if I want, if I'm worried about that falling out. Let's see what happens if I go like this. Nope, doesn't seem to be coming out, so that's good news. Do we want to decorate the front of this pouch? I think, yeah. How do we want to decorate it? Heck if I know. You're going to think I'm absolutely insane. So the first thing I thought of was doing something a little bit dimensional but not too chunky. And I've had this thing here with this like silver thingy with a rhinestone and some white feathers forever. Like since I started junk journaling, and I never have found the right place for it. That still hasn't happened because this is not the right place for it. So I was looking through some of my other just old random like broken jewelry pieces, and I found this. This is a piece of an old earring. It would have been like hung from your ear like that, with like great big hoops. And I like the look of the gold, and I thought, okay, what if we put that down and then we add some fun like cluster or something on top of it. So we're going to take this lace cluster that I made, and we're going to wrap this around the flip so that when you lift it up, you can see the lace on this side of it. Am I insane? Yes. Are we doing it anyway? Yes. We're going to take this card out just in case there's any glue bleed through the bag. We don't want that to happen. What I'm going to stick inside here are just some old book pages that are just for scrap. These aren't ones that I use as signature pages or anything. And that way, if there is any bleed through, it'll get on those and not the journaling card that we made. I will leave the book pages inside of here while this really, really dries, just in case of any mishaps. So this card will get set off to the side, and we'll put it back in once everything's dry here. Now this could actually be a colossal epic fail, but I'm thinking what might help it really hold is if we glue the rest of the tab down. Normally I would use this as a tuck spot, but I really want it all to stay together and stay in place. So I'll just glue the whole thing down. While we're waiting for that to dry, I did find a couple of tags that I made in a tag challenge video. I think it was the one that Janie tagged me where you had to just make tags. So I've got these two here. This one has some nice yellows and greens, and this one has some browns and blacks. And I'm just going to stick these in here for now, and then if I decide to add a note or something later or move them somewhere in the journal, I can, but I want to put these in this pocket just so I for sure have something in the front pocket for the person who gets this journal to use.
I'm going to be switching to voiceover for the next portion of the video. I found that trying to constantly narrate what I was doing was kind of stifling my creativity. I couldn't just move forward and craft. I had to sit and think of what to say and stuff, so there we go. I found this gold lace and I decided to add some accents here and there, so I'm making a pocket on this page. Now I'm going to take a piece of paper and cut a piece for a pocket. And I'm going to cover it with a ton of gold lace, more of that stuff that we just saw. It's going to be layered and layered and layered on top of each other. I stitched around that so that the lace was secure, and now I'm flipping back to the front to add the last piece of gold lace onto the inside library card pocket right there. So that's all that particular gold lace that I have. Now I'm going to start working with some of the pieces from the paper pad. I'm going to be creating a journaling card here, which I just inked up on the front and back with the green Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide, and that just gets tucked into that gold lace pocket there. Now I'm just kind of flipping pages trying to decide what's to work on next. I'm not going really in order from front to back. I'm choosing what to work on and when it calls to me. So here I'm choosing 3 pages from a paper pack, and I'm just simply going to take my stapler and staple them twice at the top. And then I'm going to go a little bit of the back piece down there, and that way we have kind of a flippy notebook or notepad for someone to work with. They can tear off those pages and create with them, or leave them there and write on the back for journaling space. Up next, I am tearing around the lady on that page to create kind of a torn look decoration on that front page. What I noticed when I started gluing that down is that the crease, or the end of the page, excuse me, was going to be right on the middle of her face. So I ended up folding it a little bit past that and using it as like a fold over tab to attach to the next page. You'll see what that looks like when I get it back into frame. I'm so sorry. I'm adding a few collage bits from my scrap bowl, just because I love doing the collage with scraps. It's one of my favorite ways to decorate a page. This page is going to get folded into kind of a faux envelope. It's not exactly the right size of paper to make a perfectly shaped one, but essentially what it is that you fold it so it looks maybe like an envelope, but really it unfolds for just extra journaling space. And so I'm inking that with some more Rustic Wilderness just for fun, more touches of green. And I will clip that onto the page with a tiny paper clip. As I'm working and flipping back and forth through the journal, you might notice some things that you haven't seen me make, and that is because sometimes I forget that I need to stop my camera every once in a while so that the clips don't get cut off. And, some things may have accidentally got left out of the video. My sincere apologies for that. I'm going to try to stop talking for a little bit and just let you listen to some nice music and watch what I'm doing here.
All right, we're gonna do a final flip through. We've got quite a bit of decoration here. It's still a decent amount of bulk without going too crazy, and there's plenty of space. Like most of the coffee dyed pages I left completely alone for people to write on, or whoever gets this journal. After the final flip through, then I will come back and we'll talk about the rules of the giveaway and how you can enter to win this journal. Okay, so once again, this giveaway is going to be open to US people only. I'm sorry about that. You know how much international shipping costs, or if you don't, it's a lot of money. So, again, sorry, I can only do people in the United States. But if that's you and you would like to win this journal, then here's what you need to do. 1, give this video a like. 2, I need you to comment on the video, and somewhere in your comment, you need to use the phrase junk journal. It's just 2 words, pretty simple. So, this giveaway is going to be open until the end of April, okay? On May 1st, I will post a video showing who the winner is, and they will need to contact me so that I can get their address and send them the journal. So again, number 1, must live in the US so that I can ship at a decent price. You must like the video, and you must comment and use the phrase junk journal in your comment. Anything else that you want to say in your comment is completely up to you. Don't be too surprised if I do add something to the spine before the giveaway. I just haven't figured out what that is yet, so I'm going to leave it out of the video, and we'll call it good there. Again, this will be open until the end of April 2024, and then May 1st will be when you will find out who the winner is. So I wish you all good luck in that, and have a wonderful, magical, and bookish day. Happy reading, crafting, or journaling. Adios.